12 News is your local election headquarters. Now we continue our Where They Stand series on WPRI.com. I'm Raymond Bakari. Joining us today is Woonsocket Mayor Chris Beauchamp, who is one of 3 candidates seeking that position in this year's September primary. Mayor, it's good to have you on.
Thank you, Ray. Pleasure to be here.
And it's a pleasure to have you on. So, in 60 seconds or less, why do you want to be elected to a full term?
Number one, I love the city of Woonsocket. I love the people in Woonsocket. I've lived there 65 years, my whole life. I'm committed to helping this community move forward, and I believe that I am the best choice to do that. I've been on the city council for 12 years, took a little sabbatical, I've come back, and I want to be involved in the city and make things happen and move things forward.
The new budget saw a property tax increase due to the previous administration overcharging commercial taxpayers for years. Moving forward, if you're elected to the full term, how will you go about getting that tax rate lowered while also fixing that issue of less revenue coming in?
Yeah, it's unfortunate we had a tax increase, but I was dealt with some stuff from the prior administration, and you know what? I don't sugarcoat it. It is what it is. We have to deal with it. I thought the tax increase was actually going to be a little bit higher, but we cut things where we could cut, and I believe moving forward, my goal as the mayor, one of my goals would be to get more investment in the city, more commercial people investing in the city, and I've seen that happen in the short time, 7 months that I've been there. So I believe that moving forward, we got to promote the city better. We got to make sure people want to live, work, and eat there, and that's what we're trying to do.
I read recently in the Valley Breeze, the local newspaper that covers what's going on in Woonsocket, that Police Chief Thomas Oates III pointed out that the department needs more staffing. In your opinion, what needs to be done to get more officers on board?
Well, we addressed that with the contract, to be honest with you. We gave them all a raise, and you know, we gave them a raise that we thought we could afford, and to retain people like police, fire, city hall employees, you got to pay them as close as you can to what they're worth. Because what's been happening in the police department specifically is that they get trained, new people get trained, they leave, they stay for 4, 5, 6 months, and then they leave for, you know, a better paying job in a community right next door to us. So to retain them, we gave them a little bit more money at the start of their job, not after 4 years or 5 years. So it was an incentive to keep people here, and I think so far, I think that's going to be helpful.
I want to get your opinion on a statistic that relates to Woonsocket / what you would do as mayor moving forward to address it. The Department of Health recently released data showing overdose deaths in Rhode Island, although going down statewide by 7.3% last year. Woonsocket was one of the communities that had the highest rate of fatal overdoses. That statistic is 67.4 deaths per 100,000 people. Two-parter here. What's your reaction to that, and how would you address that as mayor?
It's tragic. The opioid epidemic has really affected the citizens of the city of Woonsocket. And as the mayor, I've reached out in the 7 months that I've been there to people that deal with that on a daily basis. The Discovery House, Community Care Alliance, to get information to say, what's the root causes of this? And the misnomers sometimes of what we think that is, or who it affects, I should say. It affects everyday people like you and me, possibly. People in our families that we know that are affected. They go to work every day, but unfortunately had some illness or injury, got addicted to some opiates, and you know, they couldn't get out of it. But they still go to work, they get treatment. So the numbers have gone down. We've committed, I think we got about $429,000 from the opioid settlement. We've directed some of that money to some of the agencies that deal with this on a direct basis. We're going to monitor what they do with that money to show tangible results, and that's what we're going to do moving forward.
Now, this is a primary that's going to be decided in September, but I want to look ahead for my final question to something that's going to be on the November ballot in the general election. So the voters are going to be voting on a number of proposed changes to the city's charter. One question that stood out to me is regarding an update on the process of filling a mayoral vacancy. The last mayor, Lisa Baldelli Hunt, had resigned, making this question probably the most relevant out of the bunch. To fill in those watching who may not know what that question is, it makes a special election time frame align with current state law in the event of a vacancy. And if that vacancy is within 270 days of an election, the council president becomes mayor. If that person decides they don't want to be mayor, then the vice president of the city council would ascend. So where do you stand on that proposed change?
I mean, I agree with it for the most part because, you know, what happened in the previous administration, she was removed within 2 months of the office, which of the end of the office, I should say, of the election. And to me, that's not fair. And I believe that, the voters vote somebody in, whether it's me, Council President Ward, whoever, they have the last right, or they should have the right to say who comes and goes. So I think some of the charter review questions, that one specifically, had to be addressed based on what happened. And, I propose that sitting as the mayor now, we need to look at our charter every 3 to 4 years. Don't wait 10 years. I think this last time it was 11 or 12 years since the last time we did charter review updates. It's way too long. So I think looking at these questions sooner, and because things change, as you know. The epidemics, the opioid epidemic, the pandemic, it changed this world. We got to look at things differently. And Woonsocket, I think if I'm elected mayor, I will do that to make sure we stay up with the times and move forward.
That's all the questions I had, Mayor. I want to thank you for coming and giving us your time for this interview.
Great, I appreciate it. Call me anytime.
Sounds good. And thank you for tuning into this edition of Where They Stand. Remember, 12 News is your local election headquarters. We have other candidate interviews as well as a voter guide available on WPRI.com. Raymond Bakari, 12 News.